16 months, that is how long the WNBA and its players have been sitting across the table from each other, trying to agree on a future. 16 months of negotiations, 16 months of back and forth, and still no deal. But what happened in the final days of February 2026 was not just another delay. It was not just another missed deadline. It was a breaking point. Because for the first time in the history of these negotiations, the players were not fighting the leg. They were fighting their own union, the WNBPA, the organization built to protect them, the organization that was supposed to be their voice, their shield, their advocate in every room they could not enter themselves. That organization had lost the trust of the very people it was created to serve. And when trust breaks at that level, nothing stays quiet for long. A letter was sent. Nearly a dozen of the most prominent player agents in the league put their names on it. They sent it directly to WNBPA Executive Director Terry Carmichael Jackson. The message was clear, simple, devastating. We do not trust you anymore. We want to talk to the owners directly. No middlemen, no filtered information. No more hearing about what the league offered through a third party that may or may not be telling us the truth. Just give us a seat at the table. That letter did not come out of nowhere. Behind the scenes, agents had been talking about this moment for months, quietly, carefully building a case. And now that case was on paper, with signatures. The WNBA world had just changed overnight. To understand why agents reached that breaking point, you have to understand who was being left behind. Every union has a leadership committee. The WNBPA is no different. Names like Nneka Ogwumike, Nafisa Collier, Brina Stewart, Kelsey Plum. Stars, faces of the league. Players with leverage, platforms, and maximum contracts waiting on the other side of this negotiation. And that is exactly the problem, because the WNBA is not made up entirely of stars. It is made up of players like Lexi Brown, middle of the roster, no max contract, no headline. Just a career she has worked her entire life to build, hanging in the balance while a small group of leaders made decisions that would shape her future. Lexi Brown had seen this before. Back in 2020, during the last CBA negotiation, she watched as the leadership protected the veterans at the top and let the middle of the pack quietly absorb the damage. Players who were not on max deals, players who were not household names, many of them were pushed out of the league entirely after that agreement was signed. She remembered, and this time she was not staying silent. Brown spoke up. She called it out. She said the WNBPA was not representing all of its players. It was representing the ones at the top, and the rest were being set up to be sacrificed again. Other players heard her. They started talking. And then they started calling their agents. Those agents started comparing notes. What they found alarmed them. The information being relayed from the union about the league's proposals, the framing, the details, none of it was adding up the way it should. Players were being told things that the agents could not verify. Offers were being described in ways that felt shaped to push players toward one outcome, one specific outcome, a strike. And here is the thing about a strike that the union leadership may have overlooked. 80% of the league's players are free agents. A strike or a lockout means no contracts signed. No contracts means no commissions, and agents have bills to pay just like everyone else. Nearly a dozen agents, one letter, one demand. Let us see the league's actual proposal. Let us sit in the room. Let us be part of this, because whatever you have been telling us, we are no longer sure it is the truth. There is a detail in this story that most people glossed over, but it matters more than almost anything else. Less than 90 minutes before the agents delivered their letter to the union, the WNBPA sent its own message to those same agents. 90 minutes, as if someone inside that union knew exactly what was coming, as if the walls had ears and the clock was already ticking. The union's message offered to meet with players and agents, citing their continued commitment to transparency. They promised to answer questions. They said they were open, but the agents had already made their decision, and then came the survey. The WNBPA announced it would be sending a survey to players in the coming days, asking for their feedback on the league's most recent proposal from February 20th. On the surface, that sounds reasonable. Collect feedback, understand where your members stand. But the agents were not satisfied with just the idea of a survey. They wanted input into the questions themselves. Think about that for a moment. When you control the questions, you can shape the answers. A survey is not just a tool for collecting information. In the wrong hands, it becomes a tool for manufacturing consensus, for pointing people toward a conclusion that was already decided before the first question was written. The agents understood this. They had seen enough. They were not going to allow the union to craft a document designed to show that players supported a strike, when many of those same players had already expressed serious doubts about where their leadership was taking them. They wanted the wording reviewed. They wanted their own questions included. They wanted the process to be honest. because at this point, honesty was the one thing that had gone completely missing, and sitting above all of this quietly was a deadline, March 10th. The league had set that date as the target for a completed term sheet. Miss that window and the 2026 season schedule would be directly impacted. Real games, real fans, real consequences for every player in that league, star or not. The clock was running, the trust was gone, and the union that was supposed to hold everything together was now the thing pulling it apart. There is a word that appeared in the agent's letter: unprecedented. They used it themselves. An unprecedented level of unity among agents, nearly a dozen of them, representing players across the entire league, standing together and pointing at the same problem with the same voice. That does not happen often. That does not happen accidentally. When agents who are competitors by nature, who fight each other for clients and contracts and leverage, when those same people set all of that aside and sign the same letter on the same day, something serious has gone wrong. And what has gone wrong here is bigger than one negotiation. It is about the soul of a league that is at the most important moment in its entire history. Because right now, the WNBA is not just a sports league. It is a cultural moment. Caitlin Clark changed something. The audiences that showed up, the ratings that climbed, the arenas that sold out, all of it created an opportunity that this league has never had before. More money is on the table than ever. More eyes are watching than ever. And this is the moment the union chose to fracture. The middle-of-the-pack players, the ones who make this league function every single night, they are watching their leadership fight for a deal that protects the stars at the top while leaving everyone else to figure it out. The agents are watching a union send out surveys designed to manufacture support for a direction the players never fully agreed to. And the owners are watching all of it, waiting, with a March 10th deadline hanging over the entire situation like a storm cloud that refuses to move. Here is the truth beneath all of this. The WNBA cannot afford a work stoppage right now, not financially, not culturally, not after everything the last 2 years have built. A strike or a lockout in 2026 would not just delay a season. It would betray every fan who just found this league for the first time. It would hand every critic the ammunition they have always wanted. The agents know this. Most of the players know this. Even some inside the union know this. But knowing something and acting on it are two very different things. What happens between now and March 10th will define this league for years. Not just the contract numbers, not just the salary caps and the roster limits and the revenue splits. The character of this league. The question of whether the people trusted to lead chose the players they were supposed to serve or chose themselves. That question is still unanswered, and the clock is still running.